Balinese cultural destruction root cause revealed. Bali Satpol PP mentions central government policy. Ooh, okay, this is going to be interesting. And Bali Police hunt for reported person leaving Indonesia will be given red notice to Interpol. This is about the attack on the Ukrainian citizen that I talked about the other day, and they had arrested somebody. We'll talk more about that coming up. Stay tuned for details on these and other stories. Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is February 3rd, 2025. Almost said 24. My name is Bruce. And what is the weather like today? Wow. Well, right now it is 29.4 degrees Celsius. The humidity all the way up at 82%. Wind speed is 19.4 kilometers per hour. And it has been windy for the last 36 hours or so without stopping. And a lot of destruction around the island, trees falling and flooding. And there's going to be a story on that, the last one today, if I can fit it in. If not, talk about it tomorrow. But if you are out wandering around the island, beware of the weather because there's going to be high seas, strong winds, and rain for the rest of the week, according to the National Weather Agency. And a lot of stuff to talk about, as usual. I took the weekend off, and so there are a lot of things happening here in the last few days. But I'm not going to get to all of it today, and we'll get to the rest tomorrow. So let's get started. Balinese cultural destruction root cause revealed. Bali Satpol PP mentioned central government policy, and I've talked about this before. The destruction of Balinese culture is currently the center of attention after many investments came in and disrupted local culture. Head of Bali province's civil service police unit, Dewa Nyoman Rai Darmadi, said that one of the factors that accelerated this shift was the central government's policy, which was considered too loose. Which policy is that? It's the online single submission OSS system. It's considered to have played a major role in causing the rampant violations of development in Bali. Usually, the authorities only become aware of business development violations if development has already been carried out with only an OSS permit. Dr. Mahdi said that the investment violations that occurred in Bali were inseparable from the central government's policy of providing the widest possible investment facilities to investors through OSS-based investment permit policy. The OSS permit no longer requires alignment, compliance with spatial planning, the sanctity of temple areas, or other things related to local Balinese wisdom, Dr. Mahdi said. So this causes investors to immediately build businesses because they already have the OSS-based permit. This is what causes many investment violations to occur. He continued that Bali Province Satpol PP often made mistakes in supervising business developments carried out by investors who had obtained the OSS-based investment permits. Not to mention the authorities in Bali Province, even in the district city areas where the business permits are being issued. They're often negligent in their supervision. Wow, okay, taking some responsibility or blaming some people. Suddenly, investors have obtained permits because the administration is fulfilled through an application, and foreign investors are entirely the responsible of the central government. Due to this condition, Dr. Mahdi also denied that Satpol PP was accused of tolerating business violations committed by investors. This is because OSS-based investment permits are the cause of the difficulty in carrying out monitoring detection at the start of the development. Violations will be discovered if the investor has already started building the business. That, the OSS permit, is what caused the problem, not neglect. So, on one hand, he's saying there is some neglect here in monitoring. On the other hand, he's saying, well, it's not really neglect. It's because they have the OSS permit, and so they figure that they can just go ahead and build, and they start to build, and after that happens, then people report this to the local governments, and then there is a problem. Because sometimes when building, we find out that they already have a permit. Then we carry out supervision and intensify compliance with permits that are in place. If there's no conformity, we will reprimand, remind, and stop if there's a violation. Don't let the investment disrupt local wisdom. That's what we often miss out on there. And we, from the provincial government, through the governor, have also conveyed our objections to review the licensing policy through OSS so that it is implemented specifically in Bali so it's easier to control and impose restrictions. Dewa Darmadi continued again and encouraged the community to play an active role in supervising any business developments carried out by investors in their respective areas. His party will appreciate the public if they are willing to report to the development monitoring team if they find any potential violations of business development carried out by investors. It's said that currently almost all district cities, including the provinces, have formed development monitoring teams consisting of several related technical OPDs, regional apparatus organizations. These teams will follow up if it finds problems and receives reports from the public if there are violations of business development carried out by investors. The team will sort and select who has the authority to follow up on problems found in the field. If the center has the authority, of course, we will submit some of our findings in the field to the center for further review. If that is the authority of the district city, of course, we will convey it to the district city for follow-up. If it is the authority of the province with medium-high risk, of course, we'll follow up, also involving the district city as the one that has the area. So what you have is this OSS that the government implemented, I forget how long ago it was, to make it easier for investors to get permits to build and develop things, but not taking into account local situations, especially here in Bali, where you have temples and the subak and a lot of restrictions due to religious issues. And so you've got a conflict between the central government and the local government. And that conflict, that lack of overlap, that lack of communication is what is being blamed as the cause of these situations that have been happening recently with development starting and then later finding out that, whoa, it's violating this or it's violating that. How's this going to work out? Is there going to be some communication? Is there going to be some modification in the OSS so that the communication between the central government who's issuing these permits and the local government who has further restrictions so that this all is in accordance and the people that are developing, well, they won't have the problems that they're currently having now. Of course, the easier way to deal with all this is just stop development completely for a few years. Okay, and what about the big story for the last few days about the Ukrainian who said he was robbed? One person was arrested, turned out he was let go because he was not involved. Police are still looking for the others, so let's take a look at that. Bali Police hunt for reported person leaving Indonesia will be given red notice to Interpol. Even though one reported person from Russia has been proven not guilty, the disclosure of the International Crime Group case has not slowed down. The Bali Police are firmly continuing to hunt down the other 8 reported persons. After being secured on Thursday the 30th, K.A., that's the Russian, and he was a MMA fighter, was questioned by the Bali Police General Criminal Investigation Directorate within 1 times 24 hours. From the results of the investigation, K.A. was declared not to have been involved in the violent and extortion incident that occurred on December 15, 2024. K.A. was released and finally allowed to continue his flight to Dubai, which had been delayed due to him being secured. And in his statement, he thanked the police for being so professional. Furthermore, efforts to prevent and issue a red notice will also be taken to secure and request information from the reported parties because 2 summonses have been issued through their respective embassies. What is clear is that whoever and wherever the reported persons are, we will continue to search for them. We will coordinate with immigration, including the respective embassies and the National Police Headquarters, said the head of public relations for Bali Police. When asked about the red notice step to Interpol, he said that it's possible that this will happen if the reported parties have already left Indonesia. Of course, he continued, we are looking for all those who are targeted. We have summoned each one, but the second summons has not been attended to, so we are more active in looking for the 8 reported people. Senior Commissioner of Police Arya Sandi reiterated that the reported person may not necessarily be proven to be involved in the incident, but the police must secure them for investigation. Like the first person that they grabbed, he was said to be involved, but turned out he wasn't. It needs to be known whether the person concerned really has a role or not. This is a person reported, so it cannot be confirmed whether these people are related to the incident or not. What is important is that we investigate. And apparently they have the names of these people, I guess, given to them by the victim, and they have not been able to find them. And so they've issued these summons to the embassies, and, well, they're waiting for some results. So far, none. If it turns out that they've already left, then they're going to put this red notice out to Interpol. And so this story continues to go on, and kind of a bizarre one. And here's a story and something that's been going on actually for, I think, the last week and a half or so, maybe 2 weeks. Some turtles had been smuggled and I guess were destined to be eaten. And, well, they were rescued, fortunately. And what about them? BKSDA Bali. Pregnant dozens of smuggled turtles in Buleleng ready to lay eggs. This is what drives the release of the turtles that are suspected of being used for consumption. Well, they wanted to be used for consumption. The release of the 23 turtles was carried out this past Friday at Pasar Putih Beach in Gorogak. It's known that 22 turtles were confiscated from findings in Pemutran village, while one more came from Jembrana. Head of BKSDA Bali said that from the monitoring by the Indonesian Animal Network Foundation, they found that dozens of the female green turtles were in a condition ready to lay eggs. The animals are still classified as being in the wild category. So, according to standard operating procedure for confiscating wild animals, they are going to have to be released at the first opportunity back into the wild. Although it's been several days, all of them were ready to be released. And he condemned certain individuals in society who provided and consume turtles, because according to him, these people are certainly unethical, because they only want to eat extreme dishes to the point of sacrificing turtles, which are protected animals. According to Ratna, society should appreciate and protect the existence of animals, both protected and unprotected, because this is related to the natural ecosystem. The decrease or extinction of turtles will certainly disrupt the food chain in the sea, which is also detrimental to humans. Because when migrating, turtles also bring fertility to the ocean. Is there any other food, if you want to be extreme, different from others? How can you bear it? What's so great about eating turtles? They're protected animals and a symbol of balance, longevity, and loyalty. The head of the Bali KSDA Center added that the turtles are part of 4 pillars: conservation, tourism, education, and customs. So it's important if the community participates in preserving turtles by not eating or trading them, because the community must be aware that turtles are a protected animal. And so, good news story there. They saved the turtles from being somebody's lunch or dinner. And one more story here about the weather. And that's right up here, just down the road, about 10 kilometers from here to the east. Tidal wave sweeps away dozens of fishermen's houses in Kubutambahan. As many as 37 fishermen's houses in Banjar Dinas Kubuanyar, Kubutambahan district in Buleleng, were damaged by tidal waves. A natural disaster occurred Thursday night. That's when our roof started to fly off. Currently, the affected fishermen are installing emergency embankments in the form of sandbags at their homes, and I've been through that before here. Kubutambahan Village head, Pakade, contacted on Saturday, said the tidal wave occurred during heavy rain and strong winds on Thursday night. The seawater rose about 3 to 4 meters at that time and began to enter residential areas. He said there was damage to the house, but not into the core of the house, which was damaged with kitchen, bathroom, and some walls. Indeed, the tidal waves always come every year, usually in January and February. And that's true, happens here too. At the time of the incident, fishermen tried to save a number of their belongings, including their fishing boats, which were put into the yard on the land about 30 meters from the sea. He continued that fishermen in his area have not gone to sea for a long time due to the extreme weather. Despite the damage and material losses, the impact of this year's tidal waves, he said, was smaller than previously. However, he said, hopefully there will be no more of this year. The incident was immediately reported to Buleleng Regional Disaster Management Agency, BPBD. On average, fishermen suffered losses from 2 to 5 million per household. For the time being, fishermen are trying to make emergency embankments by installing sandbags in front of their homes. This effort is to anticipate if there is a subsequent high tide that cannot be predicted. Hakaday appealed to fishermen to remain vigilant in this high tide season. He suggested the fishermen's families stay at other relatives' houses far from the shore. I have continuously appealed, he said, even though the fishermen are familiar with the signs of an incoming tidal wave and still living in their houses. We've asked that only fathers stay to guard their boats. We've directed the wives and the children to temporarily stay in a safe family home. Head of BPBD, Buleleng, confirmed separately that he'd sent a quick reaction team to conduct an assessment of the Kubutambahan fishermen affected by the tidal wave, and they were given basic food packages and blankets for temporary handling. Meanwhile, repair assistance will be further coordinated with the technical teams of the relevant agencies. Pak Ariadi said that they were still collecting data on the impact of the tidal wave in Buleleng Regency. January to February, according to BMKG predictions, is the peak of the rainy season, so potential for disasters is quite high, such as landslides, fallen trees, tidal waves, and floods. We urge the public to remain vigilant, including fishermen, so as not to take the risk of going to sea in a season like this. Okay, that is it for today. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow, that's my plan anyway, with some more news on what is happening in Bali.